Hello and welcome to a Python Django live code hangout. Today we're going to be working on the companionship care project. This project is open source on GitHub at github.com/jerrylive/companionshipcare. Before we start, I'd like to just highlight real quick contribution that came in from the mythologist. We've been working on some general project stewardship tasks, as well as coding. Mythologist kindly contributed some configuration for our continuous integration, where we wanted to set up a GitHub action to run project tests and lint and formatting on every pull request or commit. That helps us ensure that part of the review is automated, so that we can have like lower level quality checks that can be done by machine, and letting the reviewer focus on more high level things like that machine couldn't really pick up, higher than linting. So the mythologist set us up with a workflow for our Python checks, and it's essentially when we're opening pull requests or pushing to the main branch, it's going to run these jobs. And first it's going to try to format the code. And this is a format check. Essentially, it's going to check out the code, set up Python, and install our dependencies. And it's going to check that our imports are in order and that the code is following the black default conventions. And these are just going to check the code. Both of these are just going to alert us if something's wrong. It's not going to automatically change the code. That would be left up to the developer. For example, today I'm going to have to run this isort, which we haven't run before. Then it's going to run our tests for us. It's the same basic procedure. Checking it out, installing the dependencies. In fact, this format should probably be, maybe it's a little bit misnamed here. I didn't catch that. This is more of a lint step than a test step. In any case, it's a big, it's an important step, and there's a couple of configuration variables. So very much thank you for this contribution. This has been really great. The mythologist from Singapore. And in turn, we've been adding contributors to our new contributors section here. And there's at least one more I'm going to add shortly. I'm working through kind of the broader project stewardship stuff. Now that we're in kind of a beta stage, it's time to do some project health checks and automate those. So today I'm going to start on, and see how far I get, maybe to completion, a feature here. As we are in a beta phase now, we're going to be encouraging people to use the software and set up care groups. And part of the process in setting up a care group is you configure a group profile for the person who you want to be in the center of care, and then you invite people to join that caring circle and then participate in activities. Our invitation flow right now is kind of leaves a bit to be desired. You essentially get a link that you can send to somebody in their email or a message. When they click that link, it'll take them to an invitation page. They need to be logged in order to accept the invitation. In order to log into the site, you need to either have, you need to basically have registered before or go ahead and register now. Those are the two kind of pathways. The registration pathway kind of leaves you hanging. The person will register, and then they won't necessarily know how to get back to the invitation page. Whereas the login pathway, we can, once they log in, forward them back to that invitation page. So I'm going to try to unify those in some way. I've got a couple of ideas, but I'm not sure of the solution. So a good part of this session is just going to be figuring stuff out, seeing how the code works as it stands, and running a couple of experiments. And optionally, we might just, as soon as they log in or register, or as soon as they click the link, essentially we want them to automatically submit the request. It's essentially, you'll get a link, it's an invitation, and then it prompts you, do you want to join this group? So it's giving them a double chance to opt in, I suppose, having both click the link and then clicking this, yes, I want to be part of the group. I guess the idea of having the second step was to prevent kind of abuse of somebody just clicking a link that they didn't realize what it was going to do, and then somehow their information is given to a group organizer who might have just spammed a bunch of links and could potentially then have their, I'm not sure what kind of abuse could come out of it. So maybe I'm being too cautious. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the code. The project's running here. And essentially, we just added this new feature to translate the user interface texts, and we're going to work through a localization round in Finnish and potentially other languages. If you are interested in contributing to an open source project but might not have experience with code or just speak another language in general other than English, we would appreciate contributions to our crowdsourcing effort, where we take all these words on the screen and translate them into various languages, and we'll add other languages to the menu as they become available. So for example, I've created a group, and when I want to invite somebody, I get this link. And in a new incognito window, when somebody else gets that link, like in their email or something, right now it's defaulting to a login page. So that's already a bit confusing. It's like, what am I logging into? Maybe they've already logged in or registered in order to log in, or maybe they haven't. So that's the first step. Let's make this a little bit less confusing. One idea that I have is to have a page that has two conditions, basically. If a user is logged in, then it's going to take them through the normal process, which basically would drop them and show this, do you want to join this care group form? That's already working, but in the case that they're not logged in, it'll give them basically two forms behind two bootstrap tabs, log in or register. I'm going to see if in the Django form submission, if I can add an extra field, a hidden field that just says form type login, form type registration, and handle it differently in both those cases. Django has login form, and registration form. So I'm going to try to leverage basically as much of Django's default code as I can. Here's the invitations. So when we have people, I've got the invitation view, and it's going to be a bit convoluted, but join request, join as companion. See, it's already got a lot of imperative logic. But essentially, a login required decorator here is redirecting them to the login page. That's the confusing part. So I'll have to remove that. And if I want just one consolidated view, this is going to get pretty heavy. I can probably encapsulate some of these. Everywhere I'm returning, I could put it in a function essentially. Here in the request method post, Well, this is, oh, so if I want to have a unified view, then I'm going to have this. Another option would be to have separate views that would somehow redirect to this view, which is already basically working. All right, so let's see. Again, this is a lot of figuring stuff out here, but I'm going to go ahead and create a branch. Unified invitation flow, or simplified. So we've got views, built-in forms. We've got an authentication form, and I have a custom user create form. So essentially, we can use this authentication form. So if I take this decorator off, I'll need a way to check request user is authenticated. I believe it's just that. Keep an eye over here on the chat just in case. So yeah, here I would just need to do this request users authenticated. And I would probably want to do that as the decorator does. It wraps everything. Yes, and then everything's going to come in one level. So I'm going to be not so focused on like optimal code or less lines of code. I'm going to, at this point, try to make this idea work, and then maybe I'll optimize it later. All right, check if the person exists. Redirect to the person page if the user is already a companion. Now, if they're not authenticated, we'll want to, by default, render them a form. And have to check in here if it's a post. Pass for now. And Yeah. So we'll just sketch up this template real quick. Just kind of a design first approach. Any text are going to be localized. Content block. Log in and register. So I think this should work. The logic wasn't too convoluted. Let's grab this link. Make sure I've got that. I might copy and paste it something. And we'll try this in, let's see if it's so important I do it in this session. Yeah, I'm not really testing this part out, so let's go ahead and log out here. That way I can keep my tabs open and not have to jump between incognito windows. Okay, so first thing is it's not working. How I was expecting. All right, so let's go back to the view. Make sure I remove that decorator. Did not remove that decorator. So there we go. I was hesitant to do that until I got something else working. Now when I refresh that, so it had already redirected me there. So let's try this again. There it goes, login and register. Now we're seeing the right template. Okay, so let's just grab some Django bootstrap, 5 tabs, something like that. Navs and tabs. Bootstrap 5 though. Huh. See the docs changed. That looks like the Bootstrap 4 docs. This should say like login or register, base nav. Well, I want, I guess they're kind of our navigation, but maybe they've reclassed those. Let's see. Interesting. Wow. Yeah, here it is. Okay. Why are they not working? They're not interactive examples. Okay, well, let's just pop them in there. In this login and register page, we'll have just 2 of them. I want it to be nice and prominent. And I don't want it to be links though. That's just realized that. These aren't behaving how like I was expecting. You know, so if the user was just logging in, we could just pass in this invitation URL as an argument to the login page, the next, and so that once they log in, they'll redirect it there. But the Django registration view doesn't take that same argument because the registration process can be more involved, like with email validation and stuff like that. And I don't think we're writing our own view registration. Sign up view does, in fact, actually, 2 buttons. If I can pass an argument here to this sign up view, on success, return redirect self. Check for the post there. Or get, so if request dot get next not equal none, return redirect to that. Let's try it. I'm gonna have a bunch of throwaway users here. Actually, I can do it like this. Redirect to the home. For now, I can get a reverse. Let's see here. Redirect 2 equals any string. So it supports get absolute URL. Permanent literal. It might actually take the redirect to this. I can just do a circular redirect to the sign up. Let's see if that works. Sign up. All right, but what I essentially want to do is and I'm going to actually add a self request like it. This will save me some code if this works. Like I said, I was going to go into this task with open eyes and find out what my options are. So I'm going to set a breakpoint on this return. And start running here. I'm going to run in the debugger, which is going to open a new tab anyway. So I'll close that. Tabs didn't work how I was thinking. I could figure that out anyway, but that was going to be more convoluted logic, as I was mentioning earlier. It's going to be like nested conditionals. This approach will be 2 buttons that are essentially hrefs to the login or signup page. Both the login page already takes this next argument. If I can pass the next argument to our signup view, I think we're gravy. So, however, hey Ali, welcome. Thanks for your kind words. I appreciate it. What kind of projects are you working on? Anything you're interested in and showcasing on the chat, or what kind of interests do you have in web development? Django tutorials, yeah, I can do some Django tutorials. I try to sort of do mini tutorials based on like the lessons learned in each of my live code sessions. This channel is mostly about my experiences kind of developing these projects, but I do learn some kind of like chunks of knowledge I can share that are generally useful. Social media, cool. Do you want to be like a social media site, or what's your idea there? Okay, let me see. So if I go to this sign up page, I can just fill it in with some details. They have to be valid for me to get into that. Oh yeah. Second process. So the sign up. So let me just check out and that's taking a post. So I just realized it. This idea is not going to work how I was hoping. But when I sit in this form, in the get context, I can check. Yes. I'm sure there's a way to pass this information in there. Yeah, social media site, that sounds kind of cool. I used, for another Django project, I used a really good book, and the source code is open on GitHub. The book's excellent. It's written by Pact. It's like Django 2 by example. I know that sounds antiquated, but because we're at Django 4 now. But the cool, really good thing about Django is that it stays relevant. Now they've got Django 3 by example. So this isn't, I'm not paid or sponsored here. This is just a book that I found valuable. And the all the source code is open. It's a project-based learning. I really appreciate that. Every chapter you're essentially building projects, and one of them is like a social website using the Django authentication and user profiles, and then adding social content and working with asynchronous JavaScript and building user feeds, I think, and follows. And yeah, it's a pretty good one. And then you go on to build other cool projects that are useful, like online stores with payments, like e-commerce and e-learning, and onto more advanced topics like APIs and real-time chat and how to deploy. So I totally recommend this book. Now, oftentimes Pact has sales, and you can usually get these books sort of like for €5 or something. But if you, yeah, in any case, if you just want the code, the book does have, good explanations. And Django 3, everything's gonna be relevant. So I like books because they're usually, well written and progressive. Rather than watching a bunch of random tutorials, you actually get a whole kind of like series of learning, of knowledge, chapter by chapter. Here's this source code there here, and it's broken down by the chapters of the book. But like this social websites, like I think it was chapters 2 and 3, maybe it was. And then I guess these are the apps. I'm not sure the whole structure here, but it's MIT licensed, and they're keeping it up to date. Django 4 is out, but it's still pretty fresh. All the code written in Django 3 pretty much is just going to work. There are minor changes, but they're usually pretty easy to fix when you bump into those. So I recommend that. It's already written. And again, I've used it in another project when I was doing an e-commerce feature and just kind of figuring stuff out. It saved me a lot of time. So that, and again, it's not a sponsored or thing. It's just I genuinely benefited from that book, so I recommend it. Okay, so what was I thinking here? The problem I'm going to enter here is that when we're submitting the form, we're sending a post request. So I've got to figure out a way to pass a variable, a URL. Essentially, it's like going to come in like this, equals, and then it's so basically, what's the word it is? Invitation URL. And 1, 2, 3. Like, right. Essentially, when you sign up, if there's anything that's next, it should just take this string and redirect you to that. And in our case, our use case is that we want to redirect back to that invitation link, and the user's automatically going to be logged in. Now, if we break that feature where it doesn't automatically log people in, then that's why they don't have this next by default. But right now, we automatically log you in when you sign up. So this comes in during the get. And it's stateless, so I can't really persist it, but I can pass it back to the template and into the post when the user submits this form. Let me just double check here this template sign up. The idea would be like next. The value would be equals, in this case I'll hard code it. 1, 2, 3. Right? Or yeah, just something like that. No, as long as this happens, that would give us 404 if I go to this. But so if I can get this from the post, because that would be then submitted, and I'll figure that out. How to get the actual value from the GET request. That's not probably too difficult. No, it's not difficult. It's get context and then putting that as a context variable and then using the variable inside of the string. So I want to do one step at a time, little small steps, decomposing the challenge into smaller chunks and trying little experiments. That's the way I've found pretty efficient from my workflow. So what I'm trying to test here is if I just reload everything. Cancel. I go to the sign up form. First, we should see a hidden field when I inspect the form. Input hidden. That's the CSRF middleware. Here we are next. So there's my thing. Invitation is right there. Anything when I submit this form, all the fields are going to be part of the post. Good. So then. So if it is not none, so that's going to kind of give us a value or none. Then I'm going to redirect to next. I think this might just work. Redirect to, in our case, sign up. I'm just going to do a circular redirect. And actually, I could probably just, at this point, run a breakpoint. Okay. Probably typoed there. Okay. Next. Yeah, so it just worked. And so if we step over that, boom, yeah, there's a 404, but good stuff. So that actually simplifies the whole workflow. Let me just fix this up real quick. We'll leave those commented up for just a moment. And instead of hard coding it, I'm going to pass that in. Right? And for that to happen, I need to create, this is a regular view, so I can define get context. Context data. And I'm not kind of doing this. Yeah. So basically, if, let's see. If there's a next, equals. This is just how to support next in a Django signup view. Maybe this is useful for other projects. It's not very conventional because it's kind of brittle. If you have a signup view that doesn't immediately log somebody in, there could be problems happening. And this is one of the cases. If people aren't signed in, they'll get in like this circular loop, even though they just registered. So this is contingent on us logging the user in when they sign up. So this is very specific to our project. If this line of code goes away, this whole flow is rendered moot or whatever. Not sure what that what's called. So then there we go. So then I conditionally render the form, field in the form. So then this will become two buttons instead of two tabs with two forms. And this logic will stay the same. I can revert those changes. What was I doing? Where was I going? To the right. Can't see. Not sure if the end it's not none part is necessary, but so here I'll take this off. We'll render the run the server just this way. Yeah, I'm gonna double check where is this coming in, the view code or the template code. I didn't save that. That's why. Nope. All right, dang it. Typo. So I'm getting a key out of this dictionary with nullable, with none as the default. But I was here looking for this variable that didn't exist. It was unbound. Reference before assignment. I was trying to use that variable next here, but it was just a typo. All right, so there's no next, and should be no hidden next field, right? Let's see if we can get higher level in the form. So we got input CSRF and then email and all that stuff. Now, if I put this on the end of it and inspect the code again, then we've got the hidden next. Looking good, looking good. So what I think I'm going to do is set to I don't know about the styling for now. I'm just going to wait a minute. No, this was something else. Let me think. Oh, this is. Yeah, this is necessary. I'll have to have that nesting, but not the forms and all that. So that's good. Just for the second. One of the two. Usually, I notice sites, as an aside, they kind of prioritize the sign up and kind of leave the login users like squinting a bit. I'm going to try to treat both cases as equal here. And honestly, the login is such the more frequent use case. I think they should be privileged, but I understand from a product standpoint, it's harder to get people to sign up than it is to get them to log in once they're already committed to using the product. They're more determined to log in. All right, so now we need these URLs. I think it's just URL login and sign up. I'll double check in the view. Where do our URLs go? Not here. URLs. Accounts URLs though. Oh, sign up and I believe it is login, and one other place I can look is in our base template, the nav bar. We've got a login link, sign up and login. Yeah, okay, those are correct. So it's going to return this. Yeah, I need to add those as suffixes, the invitation URL. But first, let me just go back to the invitation, refresh the page. There's the buttons. Got it. I didn't sneeze in the microphone. Okay, so it looks like there's something here going on, but I think I just must have pasted the same thing. Login, sign up. This now becomes obsolete because I won't have to do the form handling. So that's at least simpler in that sense. Buttons are much easier. And yeah, so let me just check the templates here. Where's that? Wouldn't cover up my tabs so much. And this has to be the value there. That's the key there. So I'm done with that. This, I need to fix login register. Oh yeah. Just didn't save it right. Login. Sign up. Now I need to get this string. Yeah, just to tack on the string to the end of this href. So to do that, I'll just get, I think it should be in context already. There might even be a shortcut for that. Yeah, I think there is such a common need, usually when these frameworks have been around for like 12, 14 years. This is valid since 2011. Let's see if it's valid in 2022. Login next. Yeah, dude. See that? Oh yeah, and I don't need to get parameters, I think, on this case, because it's passing it in as a parameter, so I should just use path. Let's see, so we do this. It should be fine. Wow, I like that one. Stuff that's from over 10 years ago, still relevant, well, and then edited. So they've been keeping it up to date as well. It's gotten simpler. Django 1.9 has been around for a while. Or Django 4, as mentioned. And these button primary. They should be treated equally and visible. So if I log in, well, if you're not clicking the link there, they go. This already works. The sign up. Next. Oh man, I think this is gonna be possible in one session, less than an hour. 47 minutes, not bad. Let me just get this. Everything else is fine. I could clean this up later and abstract some of these, but the comments are good enough. And I needed to move this authentication check into the method, into the view function. Okay, so let's see. Form valid. This should be this. Not sign up. So the form's valid. We want to take them to by default. The sign up view will take them to the success URL, which is our home page. Most people are going to sign up and go back to the home page. But in cases where we want to specify the next page, there we go. Control K, U for uncomment. Yeah, so just to be cautious about that, take the breakpoint from raising it. So now, yeah, basically two-step flow. First, I'm going to send it. Actually, yeah, this could work right here. So. Got an invite. We're or log in, and then we can join as a companion. Well, I'm going to confuse myself with that comment. It's not such a big deal, so let's just leave it out. Because if somebody gets it, if we leave it out and they're not automatically logged in, they'll just get a login prompt, and usually we'll have like login required, which decorator, which automatically redirects them to the login page. So, meh. This is just a convenience. I mean, I'm kind of adding redundant comments here. But basically the flow works. So if I log this got an invite person out, I log it in as my regular user, and it's a super secret password that I can't even remember, and I go to my people. Here we are, Charlene, and they got an invite. Is applying. Sure, I invited them. I sent them an invite. Oh wait, I changed my mind. Yeah, I'm sure of that. Hey, we've got a streamlined invitation flow with the sign up and register, and let me just test the other one. I need to write unit tests, integration tests for this, or whatever you would call those, with multiple page flow involved. Yeah, it's integration, I think. So if I log out, I sign up someone with no connections. Example.com, I don't want to forget these. Boom. Now, Lonely got that invite. Oh. Let me get that invite code. Now here's where I need multiple tabs. Go. I typed it right. We get Charlene's invite. Hey Charlene, got a new companion. And logging out, lonely at example.com. Gets the invite. They've already registered. They're like, this is a cool thing. So they're able to do it. They knew in advance to log in, to register. But when we get here, they're a bit lonely. They don't have anybody to hang out with. But they got that invite, and this just is the normal flow from here. So essentially, I gave them the invite code in email or whatever, a messenger, and they click it, having logged in. So let's test this out. No login. Lonely has registered. They're just not logged in. So it's saying, okay, login registered. Now they're already registered. Lonely. Example. Then they come to the same flow. Request to join. It's gonna work. It works. Very cool. And so I get the message. Well, I think that's it. I'm surprised I was able to do that in under an hour. So let's go ahead and commit these changes. I'm going to run isort on everything. I can't do this. I just realized this is going to be a pain for local or for translation. All right, 1 second. I mean, in most languages, is or an infix? I don't know. That's going to break things. You usually have a selection in between, but I'm not sure linguistically if that's necessarily that or goes in between the things that you're choosing. Apples or oranges. Or apples, oranges might be valid in some language. It's kind of hard though. I think it's clearer when the apples or oranges is there. Nonetheless, I don't think we want just a naked or, even if I put this in translation string. So whoops. Still have that. I mean, that's obvious. That they have two choices. Yes, that's good. So here, I mean, it's the whole string you can translate in context. And here's the big change. So essentially, prompt anonymous user to log in or sign up. Let's run this isort command. Not sure how to use it even. Smooth invitations. Smooth invitations. I don't want my pull request to be the first one to get rejected for lint. No, whoops, that's the wrong one. How do I run isort? Tell me, the mythologist. Tell me how to be a good coder. Poetry run black. Oh, you just have to put the thing to run it. Yeah, I was pretty close on this folder. Ooh, fixing for me. And black should be good, but but if I run block and everything, it's maybe gonna run it on all my. Ow. All my migrations and everything. Well, I'm going to include it. And yeah, let's stage them all this time. All of my commits. I'm always hesitant to do that. And I'll reformat the migrations. Heck. Oh, there's some stuff that's been overlooked. Publish branch. So we're gonna have a bunch of noise, high noise ratio in this one. Closes. I'll call it simplified. And the issue. Got issues, man. Got issues. Number 39. going to go ahead and merge it. Rebase and merge. Let's check out these new checks that are running. This is kind of a new thing we're experimenting with. I enabled some additional ones. Code climate's pending. Oh no. Cognitive complexity, I bet. Or what do they call that? I don't know. Yeah. 10. Too many returns, yeah. I'll confirm it. I'm not gonna fix it though. I agree, it's complex. I was worried about that going into it. I mentioned that I would leave it for now. How do I acknowledge? It's twice my allowed level. And it might just be that if I abstract those or encapsulate them in kind of functions that return this render, and at the end just run it, or return that I mean from the main function body, could be good. I could try that. Way too many return statements within this function. Yeah, that way each function would have basically one, maybe two, maybe three. This is gonna be weird, but let me work the bottom up. See what context I needed there. Person request. That. Uh-huh. I don't know if that makes it any better. It's got a single return though. Still probably 8 complexity. I wouldn't really need to abstract this, it's just... There's probably a way of wrapping up in like these test functions, maybe multiple of those. User test, passes text, test, but let's just see if this, now I'm risking breaking this whole thing. Just for a cognitive complexity score. And I can't do that because then, yeah, see, I would have just broken it because this would, make sure exclusive. And then I don't have a default value. Same thing, this is going to clobber it. This is going to clobber it. Yeah, I can't really do this. I'm not going to go, this is one step too far. One toke over the line. I'm leaving it. I'll acknowledge this. I don't think right now there's nothing that I can think of to simplify that. Let's go back here to see if anything else failed though. Yeah. Dang it. That's smart. However, that's baked into Django. That's the way the little sign up works. That's good though. Another one we enabled was this code scanning. Wow. How did this fail? How did this get missed? Black? Maybe he's fighting with ISort. I bet. No, they get along. No, they don't get along. Formatting. Yeah, see. This is what I don't like, when the tooling starts to become a fight. Adding more tooling to automate your process then ends up slowing you down. I'm going to go with the black formatting because I like that. And it should come after. This is wasting commits, but all right. I'm going to call it good. Cool. Very cool. I'm glad. Okay. I'm glad that got out of the way real nice. Yeah, hopefully it'll trigger new tool pot. I sort where we at. Do we already have that? Tool poetry, tool poetry. Oh, I did them in alphabetical order. Nice. Let's go some more commits here. Go to pull request. I'm going to acknowledge those. It's a medium, yeah. Django. Oh yeah, sorry, login. Just note to self. I think that will come up somewhere. I don't know where. I'm going to acknowledge these code climate fixes. Try to be a good steward. Acknowledged it. I know there's a way to do it. Oh, you have to log in. Okay. One moment. BRB. Okay, we should be logged in. And when I... Okay, so there it is. We've got this URL redirection on in my node. Okay, cool. Code climate's pending on the iSort black. Everything's pending. I want to acknowledge this. Acknowledge. And won't fix. I'm just going to merge this, but I want to handle these and see how they work. Probably need fewer of these. I think GitHub code scanning different than code QL. I'm not sure the timing of how these got enabled. Analyze is clear. Just refresh this page. See if I got the green light on any of these. Others, check, check, check. Okay, and this one's Python/test, Python/format. Interesting. Install dependencies. TOML file. ISort already exists. Clear. Fuzzy today. I don't see that key. It's the ordering. Oh, it says the working tree. Does poetry have to be first? I don't know. That's confusing. I don't see why that would matter. Oops. Line 37 column 0. Line 37 column 0. I'm going to go ahead and merge this. These are a bit flaky. Weird. If I commit this, it's never really a conflict. What happens if I commit this? Let me do this locally. I don't want to do that. Yeah, I see what happened. So there was when I created this branch, I was on a stale version of the main branch, and this ISort had already been configured. So what I need to do is then rebase. And yeah, that's cool. That's cool. It's risky, and I'm not sure how committed I am to using rebase. Anyway, as a single developer, yeah. How does this new rebase? How does this new? Yes, this. Oh, I see. So something here, accepting that line, and then not accepting that because that's that. Try this again. There's an interactive rebase. I hope I didn't just confuse things. Oh yeah, I'm gonna quit while I'm ahead here. Well, we got everything done in 1 hour, and now I'm just fighting the last couple commits. Fighting the good fight, though. They're a bit slow on every commit, but it's the way of the gun. Hey, JR, what's up? Welcome back. The task today is sorry, I'm not sure how long your message has been there. Basically, the task is complete. We're working on, I could have linked it here, issue number 39. Here it is. When when I start a care group for someone and I set up the profile, I need to invite people. Otherwise, I'm the sole caregiver. And the idea of the whole project is that you have companionship, and that is divided up in between a caring circle or a committee or a group of people. So you need to invite them, and what happens is you copy this invitation code. And let me just hop over here, run the project. And just while these are running, I'm actually gonna do I was thinking about doing a recap, but in any case, so you hop over here. Got your person, you copy the invitation code by adding a companion. And when you send that to somebody in their email or messenger, they're gonna accept it, or they're gonna click it or whatever. And they're gonna now see this page. It's gonna prompt them to log in or register. Previously, it would automatically redirect them to the login view. And if they logged in, it would redirect them back to the person page, the person profile page. Excuse me, which was pretty convenient. And then I kind of wanted that same convenience with the sign-up flow. The web components. Yeah, I'm trying to use web components here and stick to a component-oriented framework. And maybe we would support the mobile app development with a component-oriented architecture as well. For example, the Flutter framework is a really good one that's component-oriented. This is a good one to learn if you're interested in front-end dev. And they call them widgets. Flutter 3.3 was released. When was this? I just want to know the dates. Ah, it's the Wonders app. Let's see. Well, they have an announcement here. Very cool. But anyway, it's a really great development framework. Very interesting and component-oriented. August 30th. So hey, this is new. I'm thinking about doing some Flutter development, so I might be starting that in this channel. But right now, I don't have a concrete use case. And I sort of have an idea cooking, but I wanted to spend more time on this companionship care app, which is just running on a web server and serving up fairly static content. So Flutter is kind of overkill for this type of project. Let me just go ahead and close some of these down. I'm gonna do a wrap up here in a moment. Oh man, all checks have passed. Wow. Very cool. Normally there's not any checks, so it's like, yeah, no big deal, but hey, all of them passed. And I didn't acknowledge, or I acknowledged or won't fix those. Complexity issues. Very cool. And this one I'm also I've acknowledged. And it says medium severity. In any case, it's kind of crucial that I allow this next URL to work for the user flow. So yeah, let me go ahead and do a recap, JR, and then you'll get an idea of how this is going to work. So I'm gonna leave that pull request open just for the time being. Get the project we're working on. And open an incognito window to demonstrate the flow. Now there's two flows that I'll have to demonstrate. Very cool. So let's do a recap. I'm just thinking for a moment how I'm going to review the code. Because there's a lot of changes on GitHub, it would be really excessive. But I'll just say we're going to show that. And We have definitely this one and this one. Right, sign up view, template, and view. There we go, they just got these next. That's the crux of the changes here. Everything else was a bit of, might have broken some tests, maybe not. Everything else was sort of like lint and things like that. So let's go ahead now without further ado. Welcome to a recap of today's Python and Django live coding hangout. Today we've been working on the Jury Life Companionship Care app. And give a mention, and JR's here, and we have new tests running on all of our commits and pull requests, and the Mythologist helped us set up a kind of a continuous integration workflow, and that runs a series of tests. Again, when you open a pull request, you're on the main branch on every commit, and it has a series of jobs here. It's pretty cool. It formats our code with isort to make sure our imports are in the desired order, and with black to make sure that we don't have much lint and we're following consistent style. And it also runs PyFlake. Gives us some statistics there. So the main other changes here were relating to configuration for the project to be compatible with these tools, or the tools to sort of be compatible with one another. So thank you, the Mythologist. This is a really great start. And as you'll see in just a moment, we ran those tests successfully, passed them all on the pull request I've opened today. The task I was working on during this stream was a smooth invitation flow. Basically, when we have a user, let me just show this flow. Basically, can't show the old one because I'm not on that branch, but when you have a profile, somebody you want to set up a caring circle or a companionship circle around, you start out without any companions aside from yourself, and you want to invite some other people. And there's different ways apps handle invitations, and I kind of took a low-hanging fruit and just give the person a code, and they can copy that code. It's actually a URL, and send that to whomever via whatever channel, email or messaging or anything. When the person receives that and they click on that link, here's the new flow, basically. So I've got an incognito window here, and I'm just an anonymous user, basically. Basically Briley knows the person, but they may or may not have any knowledge of companionship care, just that they're being invited here. So let's take the second case, that having no knowledge of companionship care. They probably won't have an account, so they'll need to sign up. In the sign up case, we'll say enter the details. Whoops, typed correctly. Super secret password. And when they sign up, in our previous session, we enabled them to automatically be logged in. In this session, we enabled this argument, this URL query parameter, to be passed that will redirect to whatever value is here. So when I click this button, it's actually going to redirect me, if I type my password quickly, I'll show you the code underneath here. Back to this join page. You have to be logged in order to accept a request. Otherwise, we don't have a user to associate with that companionship request, and it won't work. Now here you're prompted, so previously we were prompted to sign up or register. Now that you're registered and it automatically signed you in, you're prompted here to join as a companion. This intermediate step is so that you're really making sure that's what you want to do. And I might actually put some more information there, or I'm not sure if we want to put who you're joining as. But in any case, right now that's a requirement. So when you click this button, the care coordinator will review that one. They'll see the new sign up. And here's one from previous. You can add and remove people. That was also done in a previous session. Now let's take the new sign up person and log them out and see if I can go through that flow again. So notice that we're at this join page, and both of these URLs have this next query string. So they behave the same. This is just a default Django login page. And I don't have a user login, but by default, it accepts the next period parameter. So it would have the same exact flow as I just demonstrated. I won't go through all that. Again, just to save a little time. So we can take a look at the code. All we did is essentially took our custom signup page and made it behave like the Django login page for the convenience of the user. So let's take a look how it all works, how it came together. This view is pretty heavy, but it's sort of the core. It's got a cognitive complexity score of 10, which you're supposed to keep it under 5 according to Code Climate. I don't know how that score is calculated specifically, but it's about twice as difficult as it should be to understand. And so apologies for that in advance when we look at that in a moment. When you are redirected to this login or register template, though, it's a simple template that has 2 buttons, and they link to the login and sign up page respectively, and they take this argument, this next, from the request path. So it's easier to follow. I'll show it here. So when you view this invitation, the view logic is actually going to notice that you're not logged in. So I'm struggling to demo this. Okay, here it is. Here's the view. It's a view. It's a function-based view because it's fairly complex. So the first thing it checks is if you're authenticated. If you're authenticated, it's going to do a bunch of stuff. We'll go through those a little bit line by line. Otherwise, it's going to return this login and register HTML. So this is just really basic. Again, 2 buttons, as you see here. And they just get, when you have a request, you can access certain properties of that request, and specifically the path here. So that's everything after here. So when we construct these URLs, we're just appending that path to the default accounts login and accounts sign up URLs. Nothing really magic there. So that's the case. And then when you essentially go to one of those, so if I click sign up, this is essentially, again, replicating how the Django login form works. If the login page notices a next query string property, I'm struggling for my words here, it'll forward you to that page. But our sign up page didn't do that. So here I have passed this argument to the page. And in the view, I'm getting the context data and looking at that GET request, seeing if there's a next argument. If it's there, then I'm going to add it to the template context and just returning that context. In any case, when you're getting context data, you have to return it. So in this sign up form, if that was passed there, I'm going to create a hidden input, the name next and the value next. Just keeping things really simple. This is just wiring, really. All it is wiring data through out the flow, because this is a stateless medium, so I can't kind of have any state. I have to hand it along each step of the way. So here's that hidden input for the next value, next, and the values here. That's where I can pass it back. So I get it from the GET request, I put it in the template, and when this form is submitted, it'll be submitted via post. I'm thinking this is be fixed. And it'll include possibly this next value. So in the case of the submission, this is a create view, so it's signing somebody up. It's creating a user with a custom user creation form. I've covered this in a previous session. We're kind of deep in this project, but nonetheless, it's like we're in beta mode. So it's going to validate that form, save the new user object, log them in, and then, hey, check it out. Is that next parameter there in the post? Did it come in with the form? If it is, we're going to redirect them to that next. Otherwise, we're just going to redirect to the success URL, which is the sort of default way that this create view works, which is our home page in this case. So all that to say, this is trying to smooth over this flow for the user so they don't get kind of dropped off. They register, they sign, registered and automatic logs them in, and then they're like, where do I go now? How do I get my invitation back? This takes them right back to that invitation screen, as I demonstrated earlier. Now, essentially, the invitation screen, I didn't write most of the code here today, but I'll go ahead and review it on stream just so you can kind of see how I'm thinking here. So again, this is now that they're authenticated, they're back at this invitation screen. Pops me back to the join as companion screen. Now it notices that they're authenticated, and it's displaying this because this person is not already a companion. First, it tries to see, does a person exist with this unique identifier, basically here. If not, it's going to give a 404. Then it's going to check, is this person, someone new, already a companion? If so, it's just going to send them to the person page. There's no sense in joining as a companion twice. Then it's going to check, have they already submitted it? This is a bit tricky. I want to kind of keep people from spamming, but yeah, so this essentially doesn't let you render or submit multiple requests. Once you've requested, if you hit this URL again, it just sends this message, that it's received it and that the care coordinator will review your thing. And since I just submitted the form, we've skipped over this, but basically what happened when I submitted the form, it's a post, and it creates a join request and saves it, and renders this same. In fact, I could redirect to self, but it essentially renders the same message. Otherwise, it shows those two buttons on the form. In the case that you're not authenticated, this is why this has a cognitive complexity of 10. It renders that login register form. So I hope that's not too confusing, but it certainly took some figuring out, and it's actually simpler than the first solution I was the way I was trying to solve it first. I'm not even going to describe what I was trying to do there. So this is actually not too bad of a solution. So this is the smooth invitation flow pull request. I'll just link this on GitHub. Link this on the chat, this GitHub pull request. It does have a little bit of a remote or a possible security vulnerability, but I kind of acknowledged that in the case that we're matching the way the default Django login view works. I'm just kind of matching that in our sign up view, that we're able to take this next parameter and redirect to it. Potentially unsecure because it's a user provided value. Makes sense, but at this point I'm not going to fight that or kind of worry too much about it. And JR is asking, what defines a solution? In my eyes, that's a difficult question, but it's something that solves a problem, but it solves it in a way that has the most acceptable set of trade-offs. Every solution has trade-offs. Some solutions aren't solutions. That, what's the word if it doesn't solve the problem, it's not a solution. So that's the first criteria. It's got to like meet the need or the goal you're aiming at. Our goal was a smoother user flow, and there's a set of trade-offs and possible ways of achieving that, and each of them has different complexity or maybe security issues. Like this one has a little bit of a security trade-off, lines of code, but more importantly complexity. This one is somewhat complex. Like this join as companion view functions was already a little bit complex, and now it's even more so. It was probably a cognitive complexity of like 8, and now it's 10. But the first solution I was kind of running over in my mind and started to try to code probably would have been a complexity of 15 on that same scale. I don't know how that scale is calculated. So this is actually a simpler solution than I was trying, but has a minor trade-off of the security, whereas the other solution wouldn't have had the security trade-off as much at all, because I was going to put 2 forms in this view and check which form was being submitted and stuff like that. Yeah, but at the expense of the complexity. So, and I probably wouldn't have been able to achieve that in this session. As well, I wanted to work through all these checks and get green light on everybody here. So, yes, almost 2 hours, and I'm pretty satisfied with this. So does that kind of ring true to you, JR? What a kind of a solution might be? There might be another criteria for a solution that should not come to me. I think it's at least 2 criteria. It solves the problem and it has an acceptable set of trade-offs. What else? And I thought of it. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it doesn't matter. That you can be getting stuck though in some conversations of like people get fixed on their own solution. Or yeah, so that's another thing that's a trap, is don't settle for the first idea you come up with. Give yourself some latitude to explore the solution space or the design space, and think about the trade-offs of each idea. Don't just dive straight in and solve it the first way that comes to mind. It might be a good solution, the first one that comes to mind, but likely there's some trade-offs you're not thinking about, and there might be some other solutions with a better set of trade-offs to make. So those trade-offs are key. Complexity is key. How fast you can solve it could be an important criteria. And so speed is one of the trade-offs. All right, well, now we're going a bit long. So this has been another Python and Django live code session. JR, thanks for stopping by. It's nice to chat, and hopefully see you around the stream again. Ali, also thanks for stopping by earlier in the chat. I hope you're doing well and thinking about your social media project. All right, and if you're watching this on YouTube, thanks, and give me any comments or suggestions on how you might approach a similar problem or what kind of projects you're interested in building, and I'll try to respond to you as soon as I can. Thanks for your time. Have a great day.